What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new Fallout 4 video, another Is It Worth It, this time on the Lady Killer / Black Widow perk. Now these perks are basically the same thing but differ depending on your gender. So let's just look at Black Widow. At the first rank, men will suffer plus 5% damage in combat and are easier to persuade in dialogue, and if you're a male and you get Lady Killer, this is obviously women suffer 5% more damage in combat. At the second rank, it's going to be 10% more damage in combat, they become even easier to persuade in dialogue, and they're also easier to pacify with the Intimidation perk. And at the third rank, men or women, depending on what gender you are, will suffer plus 15% damage in combat and are much easier to persuade in dialogue, and now even easier to pacify with the Intimidation perk. But is it worth it? Well, it depends on what gender you're playing. Personally, I think if you're a man and you get the Lady Killer perk, it's not really worth it. I also should note that you'll need Charisma 2 to get this perk. Now, the reason I don't think Lady Killer is worth it is because there are simply a lot more males in Fallout 4 than females, especially in terms of enemies. Now, I know in previous Fallout games, the disparity was a lot more drastic. There were a lot more men than there were women. And in Fallout 4, it is a bit balanced out, but still not enough to make this perk worth it. Obviously, if you're a male and you're playing a really charming character, then this could be a great perk to get for role-playing, as of course you can persuade people easier, especially if you don't have 10 charisma, because if you did, then you would basically get the persuasion checks all the time. Of course, though, this does work well having 10 charisma, because you can get the Intimidation perk and gain the pacify a lot more often instead of always trying to get it and failing. So I would say if you're a charisma character and you're a male and you want this perk for the sake of being a lady killer and being that suave sort of guy, then get it. If you're using intimidation, then you might want to get it. But I will say Black Widow is where it's at. If you're a female and you're fighting mostly men in the game, this is fantastic. Having plus 15% damage against most human enemies is really great. And of course, with males being the most common enemy, they're also the most common target for you to pacify. And of course, persuading them in dialogue for the same reasons is cool if you're playing a very persuasive or seductive woman. I will say as well that both of these perks, both Black Widow and Lady Killer, are not the best perks in Fallout 4. It is only 15% damage against the opposite sex. There are a lot better perks you could get, such as Bloody Mess, although you would need to invest more in luck to get it. But what I'll say is it's not a priority perk. What you want to do is always invest in your Weapon of Choices perk. So if you're a melee character, get Big Leagues, up the damage on that because it's 20% at each rank, and then these perks become a lot more worth it. It's a lot better to have 15% damage on top of double damage than 15% damage on top of, say, 20% extra damage. Of course, this is useful if you're using lots of weapon types as well, as the damage is broad. It's not just for rifles or for pistols, it's for everything. So in that case, if you have a very all-rounded weapon character and you're a female, then this is a pretty good perk. If you're a male, it has its use, but it's just not the best. And that's basically it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This was a quicker Is It Worth It video, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If you like these videos, remember to subscribe, and also remember to check us out on Snapchat and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. All that social media stuff is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.